Welcome back, everyone. I'm Alison Berman. Right now, I'm sitting here with Matt Oehrlein. Matt is the COO and co-founder of MegaBots, where they recently built a 12-ton, 16-foot robot that's about to go into warfare or battle with the company in Japan. Welcome, Matt.
Thank you.
Okay, so the idea for MegaBots, dueling giant robots, where did this come from?
Right, so so MegaBots is an entertainment company, and really this whole fighting robots paradigm has sort of come out of all of the video games and comic books and movies we watched as kids. So really it's all of the giant robot battles from pop culture, science fiction pop culture, brought to life for the very first time.
What does it feel like to see these things come to life, a childhood dream?
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. I think kind of one of the craziest moments is like the first time you get into one of these things, and
by these things he means robots.
These robots. So the robots are all human piloted. They're these 12-ton, 16-foot tall giant mechs, we call them, which is basically a giant robot that people pilot. So when you get inside these things, it's like a video game come to life. There's joysticks and buttons, and there's a windshield, and the engine roars up, and the whole hydraulic system pressurizes, and the thing comes to life. It truly is like science fiction come to life.
And did you have a favorite science fiction character or action figure, superhero as a child? Right now.
Yeah, I think a lot of engineers, myself included, really like Tony Stark, Iron Man, because he's got he's like the best engineer, right? He's got all the cool toys, and he builds them himself. So that's really amazing.
And he has a super sweet house.
He's got a super sweet and successful businessman and all that kind of stuff. So I think a lot of engineers like him.
Okay, so tell me about the Eagle Prime robot.
Sure. So the Eagle Prime is a 12-ton, 16-foot tall robot. It's powered by a 430 horsepower Corvette engine. This is the first combat-capable robot that MegaBots has built. This is the robot that's going to do battle with the Japanese team. This is the battle that has been highly anticipated over the last 2 years. It's finally happening, and so Eagle Prime is it's a very patriotic robot. There's a giant eagle on it, and so it's kind of over the top, tongue in cheek, in good humor, patriotic robot.
And tell me about the robot that it's going up against.
Yeah, so it's going up the Karatas robot. This is a robot that a company called Suidobashi Heavy Industries built in Japan. Their robot looks to be a little bit shorter, a little bit lighter, but maybe a little bit faster. So we'll see how the battle dynamics play out.
And in battle dynamics, are we talking throwing punches? I saw once a giant knife being dropped on a car. Yeah,
so we have all different kinds of weapons on the robot. The Eagle Prime features a giant pneumatic cannon that shoots paint cannonballs, 3-pound paint cannonballs. They're huge. They can shatter all the windows on a car. Very powerful. And then on the other hand, Eagle Prime right now has a big logging grapple. It's like a giant claw that can actually exert about 3,000 pounds of crushing force with the claw. So it's kind of this combination, when you talk about battle dynamics, it's kind of this combination of range combat, using the paintballs to maybe blind cameras on the other robot or take out sensitive electronics, and then closing in with the claw and trying to disable their systems at close range.
Sounds like a whole comic book story, basically.
Yeah, exactly. And we actually have created a comic book. You can read it on our website. Just some of the story behind how MegaBots came to be.
And when is the battle?
The battle is in September, early September.
Early September.
So yeah, I can't say exactly when, but it's in September.
And you have a Kickstarter running right now, do you?
Not right now.
Not right now. There will be.
So we actually funded the creation of this robot with a Kickstarter that we ran a couple years ago. So that was kind of how we burst onto the scene and kind of got a larger movement behind these robots. So it was sort of the support Team USA in the USA versus Japan giant robot fight. So that's how a lot of people know us.
And MegaBots has a very loyal following, it seems. What do you think makes so many Americans so excited to have this giant dueling robot with the Japanese robotics company?
Yeah, I think I think it's an interesting classic American underdog story, right? Like Japan is kind of known to be the robotics powerhouse, and I think there's something interesting about maybe the slightly overconfident Americans, trying to get a foothold in the robotics space, and doing it by building basically just a bigger, louder, heavier robot in true American fashion, and those aesthetics kind of transfer over to the different robot designs that you'll see in this fight.
And what was it like building the Eagle Prime? What did it take to do that?
Yeah, so the way we build our robots is pretty interesting. We actually hire a concept artist first, so someone that's worked in video games and stuff like that for a while. They draw a robot that looks really cool. We say, okay, well, this one's got to be, patriotic. It's representing the U.S. in this giant robot fight. And so a concept artist will draw a robot, and then we'll say, okay, but we can't actually build that robot. The shoulder needs to be a little bit bigger. We have to be able to fit hydraulic hoses and stuff like that in the different robot parts. So then he'll modify the design. And we kind of iterate a number of times with that artist, eventually arriving to something that still looks pretty science fiction, but the basic geometries of it are something that we can design in CAD. So bring it into a CAD program, and then we just start laying down steel pieces, and then export the drawings and weld it up.
And is this welding process a little wild? Has anything ever gone haywire? And if so, tell me about it.
So yeah, I mean, we're all of the parts of the robot, like the big assemblies, the arms, the legs, all that kind of stuff. They all weigh as much or more than a car. So whenever we're lifting something, you can't lift any part of this robot with your hands. You always have to use a forklift or a crane or something like that. So we've dropped a few pieces and stuff like that, and it always makes like a really loud crash in the shop. But we take safety pretty seriously too. So we always keep a safe distance and wear hard hats and safety glasses and all that kind of stuff. But usually, these pieces of robot, when they fall, they'll shake the building.
And do you have a big warehouse that you're working in?
Yeah, so MegaBots headquarters, which we call Fortress 1, is in Hayward, California.
Cool. We have a quick question from Tammy in the
Sure.
audience. Thank you. She just wants to know, will the battle be live streamed?
The battle will not be live streamed.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, no, but you'll be able to see it on our YouTube channel and our Facebook.
Cool. There you go, Tammy. So, talking about safety, there's someone inside of the robot when it's in battle.
Yes, there's two people.
There's two people. How is very Transformer-esque.
Yes.
How do they stay safe?
So we have a number of safety systems: seatbelt harness, 5-point safety harness, helmets, neck restraints, flame retardant suits. Inside the cockpit is a whole roll cage that's designed to keep the pilot safe if the robot falls over. We kind of took a look at different standards from monster trucks in Formula One and some military standards. How big do the escape hatches have to be for someone to be able to get out in case there's a fire, stuff like that. So it's we've kind of taken a look at a lot of different industries to design the safety systems for our robot.
And you have a background as a maker. How has this influenced your current work?
Yeah, I was very involved in maker spaces in my previous life, and ran probably the largest maker space in Metro Detroit. And so, I think there's a certain mentality in people who are really involved in maker spaces. There's kind of this it's a process of discovery. And so, if you go to these spaces, you see people working on a lot of different projects, using different techniques, and it's hard to not become very curious when you're there. And so you sort of pick up. I'm an electrical engineer by education, and so kind of my time spent in Detroit I picked up, woodworking and machining and welding and all that kind of stuff. And so that natural curiosity to just say like, oh, hey, what are you working on? Like, how does that work?
Yeah.
And like, can I try? And the knowledge sharing really transfers over into MegaBots, where I have this mentality of like, okay, well, we're kind of an entertainment and media company now. So like, how do media contracts work? And like, how do you negotiate those things, and like ad buys and stuff like that. So just having that like natural curiosity and willingness to be open to learning new things helps a lot in the entrepreneurial world as well.
Definitely. And so how did you find out about the Japanese robot?
Oh man, so the Japanese robot, these guys, I think at one point they put the robot on Amazon, and they were selling these things for $1 million a pop.
Like Amazon Prime?
I don't think it was Amazon Prime. It probably takes more than 2 days to deliver it. But yeah, I think this was maybe like 5 years ago, and it was such a great headline for journalists to write about, right? What a crazy world we live in. You can actually buy your very own mech suit online for $1 million. And so, that kind of went around the various news outlets, and that's how I had heard of it for the first time.
Yeah. And so you have a background, you said, as a mechanical engineer.
Electrical engineer.
Electrical engineer,
Yeah.
My bad. How, when you told your friends and your family, I'm going into a company, we are building giant robots to fight, did people support you? Did they think you were insane? What was the experience like? Because a lot of, I think, being an entrepreneur is that initial idea that you just believe in. Yeah.
I think, my friends and family were cautiously supportive. They're like, well, that sounds like a crazy adventure. I'm sure you're going to learn a ton, whatever happens. I have no idea like why you think this is going to like become a huge thing, but hey, you've had success in the past doing crazy stuff, so more power to you, and can't wait to watch what happens.
It's funny because I think a question a lot of people get is, when you were a kid, what did you want to be when you grow up? And I could see like exactly this, building giant robots.
Yeah. It's definitely a childhood dream come true for sure. And actually, not just for me or the co-founding team or just the employees at MegaBots, but we're finding for an entire generation of people. Everybody sees the robots and they go, oh yeah, it's from that comic book or that I used to read, or the video game I used to play. And when they see these robots, we're finding that there's this whole generation of people who have some kind of nostalgic tie to Power Rangers or Transformers or Pacific Rim or whatever they watched. And so I think that's it's very empowering for our brand that we can kind of tap into that. Yeah,
it kind of has a time capsule feeling to it.
Exactly.
And so we have another question from the audience, from Matthew. Thank you. Besides the fighting factor, is there a way that the technology you're developing will be used for some type of benefit?
Yeah, we get this question a lot because a lot of people, and I don't know what's prompted this one, but a lot of people go, oh, you're building these giant robots. What are they for? And I say, oh, well, they're for entertainment. And they go, yeah, but what are they really for? And it's like, no. Why would you build, a Formula One car or a monster truck? It's made for entertainment. That said, I'm sure there's technology that comes out of Formula One that can then be applied to the automotive industry. And I think likewise, there's just like human-machine interfaces, safety systems, robust, reconfigurable hydraulic actuators. There's a number of technologies that have the potential to come out of this. We don't even know what they all are yet, but I'm sure it'll be something cool.
And for any young makers, entrepreneurs who have a wild idea and are not quite sure where to start, do you have any advice?
Oh man, I think it is, my advice is to just start doing something, even if it seems so small and stupid that it's like, it might not be the right way to do it, or maybe, you're not talking to the right people or something. If you start doing something, people will naturally go, oh, what are you doing? and they see that you're already doing it, and they'll want to join and support you.
Yeah.
If you're not doing it and you just say, well, I want to do this at some point, everyone's just going to go like, well, good luck with that. But if they see you working and struggling, especially if they see you struggling,
yeah,
people want to help and push it forward. So my advice is just start doing something. Maybe it's just a piece of that project, but just start doing something, and that will get people to support you.
Yeah. Peter Diamandis was just on here talking about his passion for his purpose and how that's the thing that has fueled him through 19 startups. So definitely think so.
Yeah.
And so what do you hope is next for MegaBots?
Yeah, so the grand vision of MegaBots, is definitely a full-blown international sports league, on the scale of Formula One and, UFC, mixed with the Transformers and Star Wars, storytelling potential as well. So I think it's really incredible, this opportunity we have to not only be able to sell tickets to these events and elevate brands through sponsorship and stuff like that, but also be able to develop really cool video games that people can play, and if they're good enough at the video game, they can become a real life mech pilot as well. So there's this really interesting cross between traditional just video games and science fiction franchises, and then it crosses over into live entertainment and sports as well. So really interesting intersection of industries.
Yeah, and it's a cool dynamic between the virtual experience of it and then the live battle.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
We have another question from the audience, from Andrew. Will you put a 360-degree camera inside so that people can feel like they're driving it in virtual reality?
That's definitely something we get asked a lot. So there's a lot of demand for it. I'm sure at some point we will. We're still putting together all the production plans and stuff like that for the big fight. So I can't make any promises if it'll be in there for the duel, but definitely something we're looking at doing in the future, for sure.
And in the battles, are you driving the robot?
It's two people. It'll be myself and Guy, my co-founder.
Very cool. Have you been training for this?
We have. You can see some of the videos we put on YouTube where we pilot Eagle Prime and go through kind of an obstacle course and battlefield and stuff like that. So yeah, we've been spending a lot of time in the robots preparing.
Are you scared?
I'm. You can't go into something like this too overconfident because you'll get hurt. So cautiously proceeding forward. We're doing everything we can to make this safe, but still very entertaining. So yeah, I'm a little bit scared. I think anyone who goes in one of these things should be. But we'll do our best.
Yeah. And do you ever think that virtual reality will play a role within MegaBots in battles or beforehand? Yeah,
I think virtual reality is a great way to experience what it would be like to be inside one of these robots. So I can for sure see, virtual reality, the video, maybe the MegaBots video game is you are inside this robot and you are piloting this thing and you're looking around and it's the full experience, but on the other hand, the point of MegaBots is that these robots are not video games. We took the robots from video games and then we made them real. They are very purposely not virtual. So there's this intersection where it's important that we create not virtual robots, but I think there also is that opportunity for the video games to be able to give everyone an experience.
Yeah. Cool. Well, thank you so much. This has been very interesting, and I can't wait personally to tune into the battle. Yep,
absolutely. It's gonna be great. And for everybody watching, you can subscribe to us on YouTube and like us on our Facebook page, MegaBots Inc.